Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. on Monday the 19th of April 2021. My name is still Arran Hunt. I'm not going to go through all that again. And as always, this is not legal advice, just our commentary on immigration in New Zealand. Look at the description below for an email address to get in contact with us. Let's jump right into the important bit of news here. And for those of you who have watched my videos for a while, this is something that we're very, very passionate about. This has been our campaign for at least 6 months. Battling for the critical health workers out there to be with your families, the right to be in the country. And today we finally got something back from the Minister, from the Honourable Chris Whawhoi, that moves in that right direction. Actually, it's a great leap, jump, step, dash in the correct direction. So earlier today in the video, we posted actually about 2 hours ago. I was running late, was at a meeting, had to delay posting it. We mentioned that NewsHub had an exclusive last night on changes to fix the obvious hole in the government's handling of the partners and children of critical health workers. They keep calling it an anomaly. It wasn't an anomaly, it was something they were very aware of. It was obvious, blatant, they knew about it. It has now been announced, and we've linked to the video on the NewsHub website below. Definitely doing everything through NewsHub when it comes to linking the story, because they have done a fantastic job. Thank you, Tova. To give you a quick rundown of the requirements. So what it's going to be is that from the April 30th, applications will open to allow partners and children of critical health workers who are in New Zealand when the border closed to apply to come into the country. There is no need to travel with the critical health workers. There's no need to try and do a fetch. So person can keep working in the country while their partner and children apply to come in. Have to go through MIQ. Still be sort of several months to actually get them across the border, but at least it gives them that entryway in. The critical health worker must have at least 12 months left on their visa. Now this creates an issue which we'll come to later in this video. Will also be provided to some other critical workers. We're not quite sure as to how that's going to be worked out, but that will be there as well. And also be an allowance for families who had a visa to enter New Zealand but couldn't as the border was closed, as to whether they will be allowed to apply for a new visa or an extension, or allowed to enter the country or something along those lines. The Minister was pushed on whether they would waive the fee for that. He wouldn't say they would. They'll look at it on a case by case, which generally for immigration means no, they'll pay again, but at least it gives that allowance to come in. So main thing though here for us, at least for our focus, is that so if you are a critical health worker, you have at least 12 months left on your work visa, you and your family are offshore, your partner and children are offshore, from the end of this month they'll be able to apply for a border exception to come into New Zealand without you needing to go to them. You can stay working and keep doing the great job you are doing. If, of course, you have less than 12 months left on your visa, you need to talk to your employer about getting a new work visa. Now, a few little side notes here, watching through the press conference that followed, was that the Minister believes that there is 6,000 critical health workers in New Zealand, and that most of these came in after the border closed, which seemed very strange to me. But I think that is very highly unlikely, as most of our critical health workers would have been here in New Zealand already before the border closed, as there hasn't been a massive growth in new critical health worker roles in the past year. So there's a misunderstanding there by the Minister. I think he hasn't perhaps asked the correct questions from his staff or from Immigration New Zealand. So I think that figure isn't quite right, or he's not quite explained the figure correctly. We do note that the first question was from our favourite reporter, I've mentioned a number of times, was, what took you so long? Which I think was a fantastic question, as this has been something they've known for a very long time. It was responded to by the Minister about being about balance, looking at what the requirements of the country are, that sort of thing. But we just don't believe that. We believe that allowing those who are working in the most dangerous roles during a global pandemic should be allowed to be with their families. That should be the balance very early on, not something that takes place over a year later. Now, we have had a campaign about this for a long time. It's one thing we've had a big issue with, and we've been sort of working on with our clients. The Minister seems to be focused solely on partners of work visa holders. And this is where the issue comes in with the whole 12-month thing. Now, we have clients who are residents and citizens who are also separated from their partners. Their partners are offshore, but they're coming from non-visa waiver countries, so they can't apply for the border exception. So like the work visa holders, they're going to have to leave the country to collect their partners until now. Now, if this is worded in the way that the Minister projected during his press conference, that it will require people to have at least 12 months visa, left on their visa, then that's going to be an issue. You see, citizens and residents don't need to apply for critical health worker status. Citizens actually aren't allowed to apply for an entry permission under the Immigration Act. They have the right to enter. So if the Minister is going to apply some sort of critical health worker entry permission across to the partner, or it's going to require at least 12 months worth on the visa left, then that works fine if your visa, if we actually have a visa. Citizens don't. They're citizens. They have passports. If you're a resident, then you can say, well, 12 months left. Well, what does that mean? Residence is indefinite. There is no expiry period on a permanent residence, or actually on any residence, as long as you stay in the country. So we're not quite sure whether this is going to fit in. We have this suspicion that it's going to be based on work visa holders, and they're going to forget about residents and citizens. Now, we'll be going to the Minister today just to clarify this, to say to him, hey, please, Mr. Fafoi, please make sure that you include Kiwis, residents, citizens in that grouping of people whose partners can come into the country, and not just to leave them out. It's going to be a strange situation if you have work visa holders can bring their partners in, but citizens can't. It's going to be strange. Been on the phone already with one of my clients today who's a citizen, and he's raising the same issue. We're like, well, does this cover him? So we'll go to the Minister and just to clarify that. Hopefully we can get some clarity. But at least after many months, it is good to see the government finally doing something to help reunite critical health workers with their families. As long as they include residents and citizens, we'll be looking at a new campaign, a new focus, to focus that effort we have on something else, because I think we can see this as a victory. We've, and thanks of course to Erica Stanford, MP, National Party East Coast Bays, and of course to Tova O'Brien and News Hub for getting involved in this as well, and pushing this message home that critical health workers need to be looked after a bit better. They were praised for so many months of being at the front line, but then they weren't given this advantage to have their family with them. So it's great to see this has finally taken place. It's just sad that it took more than a year. As a quick side note, that's basically the update for today. A quick side note, there's one thing they were asked actually during the press conference today. Fafafoi was asked about the skilled migrant category residence visas. He said that their review was to begin at some point this year. Now, as we've covered in our past video and previous videos, we question whether the current delays are actually permitted under the abilities he has, but also that Immigration New Zealand did a review of skilled migrant last year. And if Immigration New Zealand wants to do a new review, or the Minister wants to do a new review of it, then is it really right to delay it further? It's already been a year since the last draw. Do we delay it further to allow him to do another review and further delay things? No, he's saying at some point this year. Well, it's April now. Is this going to be sort of November, December, October when he does the review? Can we look at another year of this, the SMC being closed to draws? That seems ridiculous to us. So we're going to keep pushing with that side as well, and just saying to the government that there is a need for people to stay in the country who have skills. The skilled migrant residency gives them certainty. It gives New Zealand certainty that these jobs, these skilled peoples are staying in the country. So perhaps that's going to be our next focus now that we've hopefully gotten this partners of medical workers across the line. I was just editing this video ready to upload it to YouTube, and I realised I had missed out on a couple of important things to mention. First thing is that if you're going to be applying for this partner of a critical health worker or other critical worker, when that we will know more about how they're going to judge that, you will still need all the other requirements generally required for the CPVV for partners under H52515F, which is currently they're going to probably add another H5 category to that. In that, you need to do the genuine and stable, and of course that requires living together. So watched our video from earlier today. We do cover the living together requirement on that video. That is a very important part. So If you do have a partner who have only sort of lived with for a few weeks or a month, maybe a couple of months, you may still have issue bringing them across. It's still worth applying for this way before you fly across to try and do a fetch. But still don't think of this basically being, well, that's my partner, they're coming in. Immigration New Zealand will still be looking at this in a certain way as to what they define as being partnership. So be cautious there, but definitely look at this as being a way of applying for them to come here. But those requirements still exist. And of course the usual ones are the medical, the police certificates, all the other ones that are required. That's it, and back to the previous Arran. And that is it for today. Hopefully there was some good news in there for some of you. I think a lot of you, especially those who have been commenting for a number of months now, will find this as good news, allowing your partners to come in. We still need more detail, we still need more information about that whole citizen resident side issue. Are they going to be included? They really should be, but we'll see. Otherwise, we'll be back later this week with a video regarding to character issues, character waivers, how that works, the important bits of the Immigration Act and the court documents that give you an advantage, I think, to perhaps get past those character issues. We do handle a lot of them for our clients. Until then, kia kaha, stay safe, and back in a few days' time.